It's the first day of July here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with North Korea's latest missile provocation. The North fired 2 ballistic missiles eastward early this morning, South Korea's military says. It's the first missile provocation in 5 days since a failed launch that the North insists was a success. Initial projections show the far-right National Rally Party has taken the lead in the first round of France's parliamentary elections, winning an estimated 34% of votes. 7 out of 10 voters in the U.S. believe President Joe Biden doesn't have the mental health to serve a second term as a leader, according to a new poll. It's a notable increase from previous polls and follows his debate with Trump last week. North Korea has once again launched more missiles this morning, less than a week after its last missile test, which resulted in an explosion soon after takeoff. Our Peinji starts off.
North Korea has launched ballistic missiles toward waters off its east coast on Monday morning, after the regime vowed to take overwhelming countermeasures in response to the recent military exercise held between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. The South Joint Chiefs of Staff said it detected 2 ballistic missiles fired shortly after 5 a.m., with about 10 minutes between the launches. This comes less than a week after the North claimed to have successfully tested a missile carrying multiple warheads, which the South and the U.S. assessed was a failure after the missile exploded soon after it took off. Last week, South Korea, the U.S., and Japan carried out their first multi-domain military exercise in waters south of Jeju Island. The large-scale joint military drills named Freedom Edge involved nuclear-powered aircraft carrier the USS Theodore Roosevelt, as well as Navy destroyers and fighter jets. The North vowed to take strong countermeasures, adding that such drills show the relationship between the 3 nations has developed into the Asian version of NATO. But South Korea's defense ministry dismissed Pyongyang's criticism, saying the exercise was held to deter and respond to North Korea's nuclear missile programs. It also called on the North to return to talks and look after its citizens, rather than focusing on illegal nuclear missile development. The 3 countries have had combined maritime and aerial drills before, but the latest exercise was the first one held across multiple domains, including air, maritime, underwater, and cyberspace. Meanwhile, a plenary meeting of North Korea's ruling party has been taking place in Pyongyang since last Friday. North Korean officials at the meeting were seen wearing a pin with a portrait of Kim Jong-un for the first time, as part of the regime's latest efforts to strengthen the power of its third-generation leader. Peinji, Arirang News.
North Korea continues to roll out provocations in various shapes and forms, from sending waste-carrying balloons to firing missiles. Let's talk about the latest missile launch with Dr. Bruce Bennett. Welcome back, Dr. Bennett.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Should a special meaning be given to North Korea's missile launch a few hours ago this morning?
Well, North Korea was clearly trying to offset the Freedom Edge exercise. They don't want their people to be thinking that Kim doesn't have the power to do something in response to an outside exercise. But it's really important to realize that this response suggests that Kim believes that outside information is leaking in, and he's got enough instability that he's got to do something about it. That's an interesting situation to have developed.
So North Korea being edgy about the trilateral Freedom Edge drill. And Monday's launch also comes after the South Korean military pointed out the failure of the test of a new multi-nuclear warhead missile last Wednesday. Now, why did the North argue and insist it was a success? I mean, why lie?
Well, Kim apparently is facing a fair degree of instability. He can't seem to fail. He fails in so many other ways. He's got to look like all this money he is spending on missiles and nuclear weapons and so forth are getting something for the elites. And that's what, so he can't just admit that he's failed.
Right. And also over the weekend, a pin featuring the portrait of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was officially seen for the first time. Now, why is this such a big deal?
Well, before, the normal pins just showed Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il. That meant that Kim was trying to establish a relationship to his father and his grandfather. Now Kim apparently believes that he's an independent power player, that he does not need to have that legitimacy of his father and his grandfather. And he's worried that there are lots of people loyal to his father and grandfather among the elites who are not entirely loyal towards him because of his behavior and failures. So I think he's trying to clearly focus on his own accomplishments, make it look like he's a big deal. This is an important change because it suggests that psychologically he's insecure.
Well, Dr. Bennett, I do have to ask you, what symbolism do those pins carry to begin with?
Well, I think the key symbolism is the leadership. I mean, we're talking about Kim Jong-il, Kim Il-sung, both appearing to be almost godlike. Now Kim Jong-un wants to appear that way. I think he's trying to establish himself as an independent leader without having to rely on his father and grandfather, remembering that he has recently said, just 6 months ago, that he was not going to pursue reunification with the South in a negotiated manner. That's an important break from history where his father and grandfather said that was a #1 priority.
Well, would you say the regime is not trying to glorify Kim Il-sung or Kim Jong-il anymore?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that their policies, which included unification, are no longer going to be the focus of his regime. That then takes him off the hook for the failures that he's had. It takes him off the hook for his decision to completely isolate the regime from the outside, which is what he's trying to do with calling South Korea an enemy, no longer thinking about unification. He's trying to manage his own problems, and they're apparently serious.
Definitely. And Dr. Bennett, it's officially monsoon season here on the Korean Peninsula. And the South Korean government has requested that North Korea give prior notice before, discharging water from its border dam as we enter the season. Now, the North hasn't done so for years. Will the North notify the South this year? What do you think?
Oh, very unlikely. I mean, they weren't willing to notify South Korea when South Koreans were brothers. So why would they be willing to notify South Korea when they're saying that South Koreans are enemies? So I think this is a case where we could see some really strange behavior by Kim trying to cause a problem with this.
So highly unlikely the North will notify South Korea over discharging water this monsoon season either. All right, Dr. Bennett, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it as always.
Certainly, my pleasure.
South Korea begins the second half of 2024 with major changes starting Monday. This includes the foreign exchange market being open longer and the free after-school program called NewJeans School, now open to all first graders at all elementary schools nationwide. Lee Seung-ja has more.
Monday is a start to the new week, a new month, and officially the second half of the year. It also means major changes being implemented nationwide starting on July 1st. This comes as the Finance Ministry on Sunday released its booklet that contains changes to be implemented for the second half of 2024, including 233 policy changes. And among the changes, for those that trade the U.S. dollar, the foreign exchange market for the U.S. dollar will be extended from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. to 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the next day. Trading hours for the Korean won and other currencies will remain the same at 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The move comes as the government looks to increase the convenience of currency exchange for domestic and foreign investors and reduce transaction costs. Also, foreign investors who want to trade Korean stocks and bonds will be able to exchange the US dollar for the won in real time through domestic financial companies or a registered foreign institution. The government-funded after-school program called Nilbom School will also be expanded to be available to all first graders in all 6,100 elementary schools nationwide. The program was launched last year to alleviate the burden on working parents amid the country's low birth rate crisis. What started off with just 459 schools expanded to over 2,700 by the start of spring semester this year and will now be available in all elementary schools. Also starting Monday, as part of the government's push to provide professional psychological counseling to 1 million people by 2027, those suffering mental disorders such as depression and anxiety will be able to get free help. 8 sessions are provided through the government-funded program to those who are recognized as needing psychological counseling. More policies will be implemented throughout the second half of the year to bring about both minor and major changes to benefit people's livelihoods. 이승재, Arirang News.
More than 7 out of 10 Americans believe U.S. President Joe Biden should drop out of the presidential race following his poor performance during a televised debate with Donald Trump last week. In a survey conducted by CBS with YouGov on 1,130 registered voters nationwide from last Friday to Saturday, 72% of respondents said Biden should not run in the presidential election, with 28% saying he should. Now, in the same survey in February, 63% who were opposed to his candidacy. Among Democratic Party voters, 54% of respondents said that Biden should run, but the results of the earlier survey showed that support for President Biden greatly outweighed opposition by 64% to 36%. Now, last week, we brought you a story about a traditional Korean music performance in Times Square promoting the opening of the Korea Center New York. The center officially opened last Thursday. Our culture correspondent Song Yujin has this report.
The 6th Korea Center in the world has officially opened. It's in New York, adding to the branches in Los Angeles, Shanghai, Tokyo, Beijing, and Paris. The center brings together overseas branches of government-run cultural institutions all under one roof. The Korea Center New York will house the Korean Cultural Center, the Korea Tourism Organization, and the Korea Creative Content Agency. Although the Korea Center New York had a soft launch 3 months ago, its journey began way before. Culture Minister Yoo In-chon, during his first term in 2009, decided to purchase this lot for a new branch of the Korean Cultural Center New York. A decade and a half later, his vision has finally come to life.
Building in Manhattan is very challenging, but now we have a beautiful space to showcase traditional Korean culture, history, and contemporary arts. It will be a key space for cultural exchanges with local residents, merging Korean and other cultures to create something unique.
The wait has been worth it. The previous Korean Cultural Center rented the 6th floor of a 22-story building on Park Avenue. Now it uses most floors of this newly constructed 7-story building, wholly owned by the Korean government. The basement houses a 190-seat theater for movies and performances ranging from traditional Korean music to classical music and K-pop. Both the first floor, featuring a media wall, and the spacious 2nd floor are dedicated to visual arts. The 3rd floor is a library, the 4th has a kitchen for Korean food classes, and the top 3 floors provide office space for the 3 institutions. Thursday night's opening event brought together notable Koreans and Korean Americans who are making their mark in New York.
A few years ago, I participated in an event at the Old Korean Cultural Center, New York. I've been interested in the center ever since, and now, seeing it in this beautiful new space, I'm excited for the many cultural events that will take place here.
The event started with the Mungut and Chugon Binari performance by the National Kugak Center Folk Music Group, a traditional ritual wishing prosperity and good fortune. Following this, the National Kugak Center and the New York Classical Players Chamber Orchestra put on individual performances, concluding with a joint performance of the Korean folk song Arirang. Another highlight was the Boundaries of Existence exhibition by renowned costume designer Lee Jin-hee, featuring over 40 works, including stage designs, traditional Korean costumes, sculptures, paintings, and media art, showcasing her unique hand-stitching techniques.
To better introduce Korean culture to New York, I selected and showcased works that are distinctly Korean, highlighting traditional colors and lines.
Looking ahead, the Korea Center New York will work to bridge Korean culture with mainstream society, focusing on engaging the local Korean community.
With the global rise of Korean culture, these generations of Korean Americans are proudly embracing their heritage. Many are active in the arts, and we plan to build a strong relationship with them by discovering new talent and providing opportunities to showcase their work.
So Thursday's opening ceremony marks the official launch of the Korea Center New York. The center aims to be the hub of the Korean wave in the city, aiming to spread K-culture even further. 송유진, Arirang News, New York.
Now, over in Japan, Tokyo was captivated by K-pop group NewJeans last week. The group performed to more than 90,000 fans at the Tokyo Dome. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
K-pop girl group NewJeans entertained over 90,000 fans at Japan's Tokyo Dome. The group's agency Adore said on Friday that around 91,000 people came to their concerts. Bunny's Camp 2024 Tokyo Dome held on Wednesday and Thursday. Adore also said that NewJeans' concert in the Tokyo Dome, coming just 1 year and 11 months after their debut, makes them the fastest K-pop artists to perform there. Tokyo Dome is known as a dream stage even for Japanese singers, and American pop star Taylor Swift performed there in February. Other K-pop artists who have performed at Tokyo Dome include BTS, aespa, and 17. NewJeans sang over 20 hit songs including Attention, Cookie, ETA, and How Sweet. They expressed that it was an honor and joy to perform on such a big stage at the Tokyo Dome with fans from around the world. The group's pop-up store in Shibuya was also packed with fans, and reservations to enter were fully booked. Meanwhile, NewJeans' Japanese debut single Supernatural, released on the 21st, has been in the top ranks of the Oricon Singles Charts, the most authorized music chart in Japan, for a week. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Si-young, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. We begin today in France, where the exit polls show the far-right National Rally Party is leading in the first round of the snap parliamentary election on Sunday. Exit polls show the National Rally leading with around 33% of the votes, while incumbent President Emmanuel Macron's Ensemble coalition reached 21%. The New Popular Front, a newly formed left-wing coalition between Socialist Party, Greens and France Unbowed, reached 28%. The turnout was the highest for a legislative election in France since 1997. The National Rally's leader, Marine Le Pen, celebrated her party's early success, saying democracy has spoken, while thousands gathered in Paris to protest against her party's policies. Candidates need to win 50% of the votes to win their seat automatically and need 12.5% of the vote to reach the second round of elections on July 7th. The snap legislative election was called by President Macron after his party was defeated by the National Rally at the European elections in June. Moving over to Western Europe, where deadly storms across France, Switzerland and Italy left at least 7 dead over the weekend. 3 people died in northeastern France on Saturday when a falling tree crushed the car they were traveling in amid fierce storms and torrential rain. According to the AFP, a 4th passenger is in critical care. In Switzerland, 3 people died after torrential rain triggered a landslide in the country's southeast, while another was found dead in a hotel in the Valais region. Police say the victim likely drowned in fast-rising floodwater. Several hundred people were also reportedly evacuated from the area. A storm also temporarily halted the Euro 2024 game between Germany and Denmark in Dortmund on Saturday. In Nigeria, at least 18 people have been killed and 40 injured in a series of attacks carried out by female suicide bombers. Local authorities stated on Sunday that the suicide bombers targeted a wedding, a hospital, and a funeral in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state on Saturday. A Borno State police spokesperson said a woman carrying a baby on her back detonated an improvised explosive device she had on her at a crowded motor park in the town of Gwoza at around 4 p.m. local time Saturday. He added that later on, another attack was carried out at the funeral for victims of the wedding bombing. New York City's annual Pride March took over the streets of Manhattan on Sunday as the supporters of LGBTQ+ celebrated the parade. This year's Pride March marks the 55th anniversary since the Stonewall Uprising, where the patrons of Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in Greenwich Village, fought back a police raid. With this year's theme being Reflect, Empower, Unite, the rainbow-laden march hosted a wide range of festivities as well as political protests. As the month-long celebration of LGBTQ+ Pride comes to an end, Chicago and San Francisco, among other locations, held parades to mark the occasion.
Good morning. Most parts of Korea had a windy and rainy weekend with the season's first monsoon rain pouring down in central areas. While on and off monsoon rain continues on Jeju, but the mainland will be free from monsoon showers today. Heat, however, sets in for most of Korea, kicking off July on a muggy note. Afternoon highs should be 1 to 5 degrees Celsius higher than Sunday afternoon. So this afternoon, Seoul, Daejeon, and Chuncheon should get up to 31 degrees Celsius. Gyeongju will have highs soaring to 33 degrees Celsius. Mostly sunny skies are expected for most parts, with Gangwon-do and east of Gyeonggi-do provinces seeing 5 to 20 millimeters of passing showers. Meanwhile, monsoon rain is forecast to return tomorrow. Rain will lash down on Jeju, dumping up to 150 millimeters of downpours. And central areas could also see more than 120 millimeters into Wednesday, along with gusty winds. Now, please brace for frequent monsoonal rain this week and stay safe out on the roads. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day and Arirang. Have a wonderful start to the week.